All we all want is a beautiful flat finish in our clear coat. Well, today I may have the answer to achieve the perfect finish. Today's lab rat is this BMW 4 Series, and it's getting a lot of work done. As you can see, it barely fits in the booth. Now, I went ahead and based all of our new parts out with some leftover paint from a couple jobs that I had, some black, some white, some blue. And now on our blend panel, I'm shooting the actual color of the car. And we have our one visit modifier in our gun. So we're gonna shoot these. Oh man, and I screwed up. I just told you guys yesterday how when we use this one visit modifier, we're supposed to reverse blend. Oh, well, let's see if I can save it. Hopefully I can. Like I was saying, we have these two blend panels. As you guys know, I've been using a wet bed way more often than I used to. And I started to notice a difference in the finish of my paint jobs, especially the one that I painted yesterday on video. It was that Volvo, that blue Volvo. Man, after I cleared that thing, it looked like $1,000,000. I mean, there was hardly any orange peel. That thing finished like an absolute mirror. And I was thinking, could using a wet bed actually be making my paint jobs come out smoother? And I mean, if you think about it, it does make sense, because think about what that clear additive does. Now, ever since I've been using that wet bed or that clear additive or that binder, whatever you want to call it, to level out that sealer edge on my blend panels, I started looking and thinking about it a lot differently. So what I'm gonna do is finish basing these parts out because our blend panels are done and it looks like they're gonna be just fine. And then once I'm done basing everything else out, I'm gonna show you guys the idea that I had and the experiment that's gonna be taking place in this booth today. Now, before we begin conducting our experiment on our unwilling participant in the booth, let me quickly walk you guys through my thought process. We all know by now, for a good blend, you need a smooth transition from your sealer to your panel. What helps us achieve that smooth finish? Our wet bed, right? What it does is it takes two unlevel surfaces, you throw a coat of your wet bed on, and it levels those surfaces for you. So if it can do such a great job at leveling two uneven surfaces that it makes our blends look completely unnoticeable, even with metallic colors, well then maybe it can take our base coat that's more level than our sealer edge, make it even smoother, and perhaps that can translate into the finish of our clear coat. Now, let me walk you guys through the game plan for this experiment. What I could do is just throw a wet bed on every panel in here and then tell you guys, yeah, it came out smoother than it normally does, or no, it didn't make a difference. But we all know a good experiment ends with a verifiable conclusion. Now, I was thinking about maybe I don't wet bed the hood, or maybe I don't wet bed the fender, and then we can compare them. But I had a better idea. What I'm gonna do is, we have two blend panels, right? Both of them are bound to have a similar finish, given that we had to do a blend on both of them. So I'm gonna wet bed our fender, and I'm not gonna wet bed our door. So we're gonna focus on those two panels. Everything else I'm also gonna wet bed, and I'll tell you guys at the end if I see a difference or not. But we're gonna have A and B to compare. So you guys can make the decision if it made a difference or not yourselves. All right, phase one of our experiment will be commencing. We're putting our wet bed, which in EnviroBase is T490. For those who don't know, your wet bed is whatever your paint line uses as a carrier for your pearl and your tri-coat. If you're a DIY guy, you can just tell whoever mixes your paint for you to throw some binder or clear additive or whatever the paint line's pearl coat carrier is in a can for you, and you would reduce it yourself according to the TDS. So I have everything in here wet bedded. Just did our fender for you guys, and you can see our door is as dry as a bone, right? If this experiment is a success, this door should not be as smooth as our fender or anything else in this booth. All right, everything in here is sufficiently dry. You're definitely going to want to give it more time than usual to dry because that wet bed is designed to stay wetter for longer. And you don't want to ever clear over something that's not completely dry. With that being said, now we can commence phase two. So I have our clear, which is our Omni MC161. We're going to be putting it on with our DV1. Everything full open. I got my fan one turn in. We're going to be shooting at around 25, 26 PSI. We're going to lay the door and the fender together. This way you could see I'm not doing anything funny and I'm applying it the same exact way.
All right, here we go. We're at 27. You guys know on my first coat of clear, I usually use a higher pressure and I move a little quicker. We want a nice tight coat for our first coat of clear. This way we could really hammer on that second coat and not have to worry about getting in any trouble. So my distance is the same, my speed is the same, everything on both of these panels is exactly the same. Now let's take a quick look. You can see there's definitely texture in that panel, and our door definitely has texture as well.
Before we throw our second coat on, I wanted to take a second to say, if you guys enjoyed these videos, if you could just drop a like on them and just check to see if you're subscribed, because a lot of you guys who watch my videos regularly are not subscribed. So if you want to support, the easiest way possible is hit that like and hit that subscribe, and I really appreciate it, and it will help me continue to put out better and better content. So thank you. So after our first coat, I don't really expect to see much of a difference, but I did look at the door and I did look at the fender. Now, I really don't know if the camera will pick this up. Hopefully you guys can see those little dots. If you look in the lights right here, you see those little dots? That's really common on a blend panel. And those go away completely after my second coat. But what's interesting to see is we actually do not have any of that on our fender. You see that there in the light? There is no sign of where we dusted our color out on our fender like there is on our door. So I'm starting to think I might be onto something here. Now on our second coat, I go down to about 21 or 22 PSI. I move my gun a little closer and I slow my speed down by about 15%.
This is what is gonna help my paint lay flatter, because with a lower pressure, your material stays wetter for longer. And that's why you need to use a low pressure when you're shooting your metallic on your last coat. Because you want them to land on that panel still wet. This way they can flow out. Because if they land and they dry too quickly, that's what causes your modeling. Panel looks good. Let's run over to our fender. And we'll do the same exact thing. This is going to be really interesting to see for me. Because this is a trick that you can use when, say, you get like a Japanese car that has a really flat finish on it. You could use something like this to help minimize that orange peel.
All right, so we finished putting our second coat on. I gave everything about 10 minutes to flow out. Let's see how everything's looking. Okay, so right away, I can tell you, anytime I paint the hood up like this on a stand, it never comes out as good as when I lay it flat, obviously. But that looks freaking awesome. That is probably the best finish I've ever gotten on a hood when painting it vertically on a stand like this. I mean, that looks incredible. At least for me, that looks incredible. This thing looks like a freaking show car. Oh my Lord. This looks exactly how that Volvo looked yesterday that I made a video on. It just looks so slick. I mean, yeah, there's still peel in there for sure, but that isn't, I mean, this looks great. This looks better than great. This is how I want all my chops to come out. Jeez. Now, before we check that fender, let's go right from that fender to this door. There's certain there, I mean, for me in person, I can easily tell you right away, this door's got more peel than that fender. I don't know if it's going to translate on camera, but I can tell you it's definitely got more peel than our fender. Let's go back over to our fender. And what I'll do is I'll put a side by side, as you know, wherever I can get a good picture. But if we look here where our panel kind of arches, usually that's where you see the most peel, right? So here's what our fender looks like. Now let's check the top of our door where we have a similar shape right here. And you can see when the light hits it, how much more texture there is in that section of our panel. And the difference in that section from our door to our fender is the same difference throughout the entire door, but I'm not sure if that's going to translate on camera. Now, obviously, we wet bed this fender as well. And same thing. I mean, this, you know, this is a quick cut and buff away from being a show car finish. Again, let's just take one more look here where that panel arches and we catch the light the same way, right? So there's our texture. Definitely still texture, but in person, definitely drastically less texture than this. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I know you got value out of this one. If you did enjoy the video, if you could, drop a like, comment, or maybe even subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel out a bunch. Let me show you guys the bumper real quick, too. I mean, I painted this thing in a corner with no light, so you really can't even see anything. But anyway, until the next time, peace!